Hello and welcome. I'll just let people kind of join in here. So, welcome. I'm Trinity Wave, and I'm very excited for today for my Embody Your Goddess tips. And this is for women to help embody the goddess within, in body, mind, and spirit. And I just want to let you know that if you'd like to, you can grab a pencil or paper and take some notes during this. Feel free to. And just let everyone come into the room and get settled here. So just a little reminder about this. So what I'm offering today is kind of like guidelines. So it's not meant to be like rules that have to be followed or you'll be punished. You know, it's like they're just kind of helpful guidelines. And so, like in a lot of things, you know, take what works and leave what doesn't. You know, you might hear that in yoga classes, but that works for a lot of things. So if it doesn't work for you, you don't have to hold on to it. So I want to give a little overview for today, but I want to take a little sip here. Drinking some tea today. It's a nice chamomile blend from Tazo. So giving you a little bit of an overview today of what's going on. So I'm going to start today with a grounding practice and then moving into connecting with goddess energy, talking about women in the circle and doing a little introduction of me. I might do a little card pool as well. And then I'd love to give ladies who join a chance to chat in to the prompt, and I'll give you a prompt. Still waiting on some people to join, more people to join. And then I'll give some of my tips for embodying your goddess, embody, mind, and spirit. And I have a special offer today, and I'll just do a little closing at the end. So feel free to get cozy here, settle in, and we'll get ready. Great. So, starting with a nice grounding practice today, let's, if you can, find a nice comfortable seat. And if you can, begin to close the eyes, taking some deeper breaths in through the nose and out through pursed lips. Doing this a few times with your breath. Feeling the sit bones ground down towards the earth. Great. On the next inhale, begin to fill the belly on the inhale, like feeling it expand. And exhale, contract and release. Breathing through the nose. Doing this again. And now if you can, breathe into the lungs, filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. And again, if you can, inhaling and exhaling fully. Returning to a natural breath here. I'm so grateful for all the women that are in this video chat today, who are connecting with their goddess energy. I'm grateful for people being open to express and connect with their goddess energy. Grateful for all the light and love cultivating today. And if you can, begin to feel the crown of the head lift up towards the sky. Returning to a natural breath here. And it's your choice here. You can either begin to open the eyes or keep them closed if you feel like still being in that space. I'm just going to talk a little bit about goddess energy here and connecting to goddess energy. I believe that we as women are inherently goddesses, and even if at birth, I believe all people have masculine and feminine aspects. I believe that we're all inherently connected to the earth and our Mother Earth. And this is like our clay. Our bodies are like the clay, which just connects to the earth's clay. And I also believe that we are divine light, and we all have divine light within us. And it's kind of like fractals of divine light source energy. And none of this is separated by duality in source. It's just oneness and wholeness. And I also, in this session, I'm excited to talk about goddess energy and how to cultivate more of that in one's life and to allow us to live in wholeness and love within ourselves. And I want to talk a little bit about women and the circle. Let me just take a drink here. So I see parallels between women, the shape of a circle, and a woman, or a sphere. So when you think about a woman when she's pregnant and she has, the belly, and it's, a big sphere or a big circle, you can think of, and how our earth is shaped like a sphere, or 2D would be like a circle. And our earth is sometimes referred to as Mother Earth. And she's like the giver of life, of the plants that we have, the waters that nourish us and sustain life on this planet. And I believe that in ancient times, women have been more connected to the web of life and can see the web of life and how things connect to one another much more easily, and have helped to protect the web of life. And this is kind of like an inherent thing, I believe. And as we join together, I hope that you can kind of imagine women and kind of creating a circle here, joining together and becoming that circle today. And I'd love to hear more about who's joining today, and I'll give you some prompts in a moment to kind of share more about yourself. But I'd like to share about me first, and hopefully we can get some of your comments as well. I'd love to hear from you. And before we do that, actually, I would like to pull a card first. This might help for our reading today. So this is for our goddess topic today. I'm wondering if there's anything that might help connect to this topic. Interesting. So we have the, can you see it? This is the death card. It's an interesting card to have for today. And, maybe we'll come back to that for information. But about me, I am Trinity Wave, if you don't know me before. I'm a divine healer, Bellydance teacher, and video producer. And I've connected more to spirit throughout the years through doing earth rituals. I'm a yoga teacher. I've painted a whole tarot series with kind of like a female connection and my connection to flow arts. And I do choreographed dances. I teach meditation. I do singing, light language, and I've created goddess rituals for my Embody Your Goddess course. And in my past, I was a domestic violence survivor and a heavy substance user. And I've turned my life around through body, mind, and spirit. And I'm grateful to connect to women to help them inspire to lead lives that they love. And I'm also feeling connected to the star system Pleiades in recent times, as I see it as connection to divine inspiration through multiple art forms. And I also think that it is our opportunity now to be able to dance with the divine in this lifetime. And I believe that we all carry our own divine light. And yeah, so I'm here to share some of that. And I'd love to hear more from you. So if you're out there, if you're listening, please type in your first name, your favorite flower, and what brought you to today's session. And I'll just give you a moment to connect here and jot some things down. So one thing that I see about this card, which is kind of hard to see in the card itself, but there's you can't really see, but there's like a little flower of life in the background, and it's kind of just saying that after every ending comes a new beginning. So, and this is kind of like the circle too, right? It's like one cycle ends and another one just begins. So I'm hoping that we're moving into a great cycle for light and love, and I'm here to share some of that with us today. So feel free to chat in, and we'll grab some of your. We'll talk about that soon. So now, if you're ready, I'd like to just get into some tips for embodying your goddess. So my first one is number 1, and it's self-love, or being nice to oneself. Being nice to oneself is an act of self-love, and I love myself now, but it wasn't always this way. I had a lot of I had physical abuse as a child, and I had a lot of self-hatred and self-loathing for a long time. And so self-love was a radical change for me, and I can see how self-love can create a beautiful ripple effect in the world to when we love ourselves, it just naturally kind of spills out around us, and our relationships can become better. And um, even with the things that we have, the life we have, our life can have more love in it. And I just think that people who love themselves just naturally shine, and people can feel that around us, and it just creates, I feel like, a better world. And I think that love is infinite, and we all have access to its transformational power. And I think that it is an important key to changing oneself if you're on a weight loss journey, or just a self-improvement journey. I think that self-love is so important for going in the right path. And I mean, right is up to each person, but I can attest to doing that in the opposite way, and it didn't work. So this is what I'm sharing that worked for me. So And if you can, please type in the chat one thing you love about yourself. I would love to hear that. I'll just take a little drink here. So tip number 2 is for embodying your goddess is self-discovery or opening up to one's desires or attractions. And I think that it's so interesting that desire in our society has been seen as such of like a connection to sex. And of course, there is that kind of desire, but it's also just almost like a curiosity to about like, what you like or what one is interested in. And this can be like for many things. This could be for like places or things or hobbies or flowers. You know? And for instance, like self-discovery, opening up yourself to desire or attraction. So it's almost like as if there was like a thread and you like found the end of the thread and you just begin to start like slowly, pulling on it. So you're like, oh, okay, I'm interested in Hawaii or Costa Rica, and you're just like, oh, well, maybe I can just begin to like look at some pictures of these beautiful places and connect to that in images. Or I could like learn more about it and become immersed in that way. Or I could start learning a few words in a new language and just beginning to connect in those ways and opening up to new possibilities. And this doesn't mean you have to go all the way in. Um, like if you're interested in Hawaii or something, you don't need to like buy a one-way plane ticket and like never come back. I mean, you could, but it's more of just like being open and seeing what arises out of that desire or attraction or curiosity. You know, um, these are like very feminine kind of principles. And a few suggestions I have here. Well, one suggestion is to connect to a movement therapy that you're interested in and something that you can do by yourself, ideally. I mean, having a partner is wonderful and it's nice to do things like that too, but it's also really great to cultivate kind of this self practice where you're like enjoying things that you enjoy by yourself and cultivating strength within that. I think that's very powerful for women. Some suggestions that I have would be dancing, yoga, ballet, jogging, strength training, pole dancing. And I think some of these things are really intuitive, like walking and jogging, but some of these things, I think, if you haven't done these things before, might take a little bit of help with a teacher. And I think that could like get people on a good track. And if you are interested in some of the things that I mentioned, I teach most of these things in a course that I'll talk about later, my Embody Your Goddess course. So I'd love to share that with you later if you're staying tuned. So let me just take a drink here. So take a moment, and if you can, just write one thing in the chat you love doing by yourself. So moving on to number 3, tip for embodying your goddess is the nature of the goddess is abundant, and abundance is welcomed. So when you think about nature, or when I think about nature, I think about a variety of trees, a variety of plants and flowers. I think of fruits, vegetables, a variety of rocks, colors, textures, and the list can really just go on. I mean, think about the abundance in life. Think about the ocean and how there's an abundance of water in the ocean. There's like this bountiful nature around us. And I think that we are connected to Mother Earth, and I think that we are her beloved children. She loves us and she wants to share her bounty with us. And she wants us to respect her as well. And I think that there's been some interesting concepts in society that have kind of um, blocked this connection to abundance over time, and making abundance into being greedy, or making scarcity like very like moral in a way. And I think morality is up to each individual, but I think that, well, consider the goddess statue. So when I think of a goddess statue, I think of like abundant curves, right? Abundance is her nature. And where can one begin to notice abundance? This is like a homework. This is like a homework thing. See if you can, at some point, notice abundance around you. And this could be when you go outside, if there's like certain things around you that are in abundance, or if you go to the grocery store, even seeing if you can notice where there is abundance. And there is so much abundance around us. And I think that if the goddess was not connected to abundance, then like life, you know, I think that it's natural for abundance to be connected to the goddess, and for us to be connected to our abundant energy and love. Love is abundant. Um, so I would love to know if you could type into the chat. Do you already have something in your life where you can see abundance in your life, or are there any practices that you're already doing that you feel abundant? Where is there abundance in your life already? And I really hope that we're moving into more of this paradigm where we're able to connect to our abundance, and without like shame or guilt. And I think that that's kind of like an older paradigm that I'm hoping that we're moving out of finally. Bless. But so I want to move into number 4 here for a tip for embodying your goddess. And this one, a lot of these actually are, I feel like, are simple to say, and it's like one of those things where you could be like, oh yeah, that sounds easy and lovely and great, thank you. But it's one of those things that it's like a practice, like how yoga or meditation or breathing is a practice. Well, it can be a practice, right? It can be voluntary or involuntary, but consciously doing something, right? Different. So number 4 is respecting one's energy. And I believe that our energy is sacred because we are divine light, we are love. Our energy is sacred. And so if you're noticing that something is like damaging your energy or draining your energy a lot, um, this might be a signal to you that you might need to reduce this or just stop it altogether if it's a certain activity. And again, this is like something easier said than done, but um, it's possible. It's definitely possible. And a simple example for this, right, is something that, like, say you're working out, say you have like a video on YouTube, an exercise fitness video that you're working out to, and of course there's some like basic muscle exertion during this, it's a workout. You want to be working to some degree, but if you're noticing like sharp pains or like severe pain, that's probably a signal to slow down or stop completely. And I had to do this recently when I was working out, and you know, this is just about respecting one's energy. You can catch back up when you feel ready, or pause the video until you feel okay. Um, and this kind of leads me into my next topic, number 5, which is respecting or creating healthy boundaries. Number 5 is creating healthy boundaries. So I'm just going to take a little drink here. So this is something that I feel that, or I think that our society has not made it easy for women to do, because there's been a lack of societal value for the things that women do, from my viewpoint. And I can attest to this because I have worked as a professional cleaner in my life, and I worked cleaning Airbnbs, I worked in hostels, hotels, offices, residences, and doing this work all the time was very exhausting, very draining and exhausting. Um, and this is something that has been typically like, I hate to like say this, but like woman's work, women like take care of the house. These are like old roles that we didn't really agree to coming in here, but we were probably born into this time, and these kind of things were like either put on us or expected to us from the time we were born. And I get kind of upset about this, especially when like a man and a woman are living together, and a man is kind of just expecting that, um, or just reluctantly putting it off onto a woman to like take care of everything in the house and not really take responsibility for certain of their actions or their things. And I actually had to put up or discuss some of my boundaries and my feelings about this with a partner that I was living with once. And I mean, he did not like it. He just wasn't used to this conversation. I mean, we were both young, but it's, if something is sucking your life force, um, creating some healthy boundaries around it is good. And you don't have to be rude about it. Just having a clear statement about what is or what is not appropriate for your energy. And I mean, obviously, if one person likes to do something and another person likes to do something else, and there's like some harmonious way of sharing energy with one another that feels like appropriate, and equal to some degree, for however you want to deal with that. But that's one thing. But you know if one person is like continually just doing all this work, and the other person is just like not at all, it doesn't, it's not really equal. Okay. And um, and we've been living in for multiple generations up until now. I feel like, or I think that, it's been challenging the system has not been set up to support women to thrive. And I hope that that is all changing now so that our we can start creating that change and allowing each of us to thrive and saying like this, my energy is sacred and I can choose what I can do with my energy. And I want I want my goddess energy to thrive and I deserve that. So I just want us all to just take a nice breath and just breathe that beautiful energy in of what we deserve, feeling the love of the energy, respect of the energy. And of course, this is not to say that we're trying to disrespect other people's energy or make somebody else do everything for us. I'm just saying that this is like a way to live harmoniously. So I have another example for this, if just to like drive this point a little bit more. Um, so one example in nature is a pineapple. You've probably seen a pineapple. I don't have to explain it to you, but just to give you the metaphor here. So the inside of a pineapple is like golden and juicy and very soft and like succulent, right? Um, and the outside of the pineapple is very hard and very spiky and challenging to get into, right? If you've opened a pineapple, you know this. um, but if all that gooey, delicious, golden succulence was on the outside, all of any kind of creature walking by would just stop and take a bite and like move right on, and it would just keep going until nothing was left of the golden pineapple energy. Right? But this this peel is protecting what is sacred, and we can kind of do this with our boundaries by protecting our sacred energy. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know in the chat if you like pineapples. I love pineapples. Okay, so next on the Embody Your Goddess tips is number 6, and this is getting to know your emotions. And this is yet another one. It's a beautiful thing to say, and it's a practice. And I've heard from other spiritual guides, and I believe this, is that emotions are messengers. And I think that as we have this divine consciousness within us, and as things, thoughts come into our mind, and we're interacting with our own bodies, we're interacting with our environments around us, we're interacting with other beings around us. Our emotions are like messengers of how things are going, right? In the inner world. And I think I talk about this, but a lot. But recently, is that I did not have healthy emotional regulation as a child, and I did not have. I was not able to express my emotions very easily, or at all. So processing emotions was really challenging for me. But I began to use journaling as a way to get in touch with emotions and eventually I became able to communicate emotions in healthy ways, because when I was a child, I used a lot of coping mechanisms instead of emotional regulation, including like binge eating. Um, and this is something that I talk about in a recent live stream. If you or somebody you know is struggling with this or an eating disorder, um, you might want to check out my live stream that I did recently, which is on healing emotional eating. And um, and like I'm saying, so I don't. If this is not something that you worked on before, um, dealing, processing emotions or communicating emotions in healthy ways. If this is not something that you've worked on before, don't just imagine that you can go from like screaming at people to, like calmly saying, that made me angry. Um, I thought that I could do this pretty easily, but you know, there was um, there was a gradual, you know, stepping stones of movement to be able to process and communicate. Um, and this might be something that you do very easily. I don't know. Um, but journaling definitely helped me. And um, I don't think that necessarily screaming at somebody at the top of your lungs is the best, healthiest way to communicate your emotions. I mean, you're definitely communicating something, right? You're like, there's anger there. And people probably get that. But I think that it's much better to be able to communicate in a way where somebody's going to be able to receive it, um, in like a healthy way. I mean, I don't personally like getting yelled at. I don't know many people that do, so it's just like one thing to think about. Um, but I would like to know if you've ever done journaling before and if you liked it. So feel free to type in the chat if you've done some journaling, and I'll just give you a moment here to type in. So we have about three more of these tips here. And this next one is also kind of connected to processing emotions. And number 7 is owning your past, but not letting it limit your future. And this is this is like being honest with oneself and being like, well, what is actually going on within me to like create this emotion, right? Or where is this coming from? Um, and for me, I had to like be very honest with myself about my trauma in my life. And I mean, some of you know my story. I was, or my past. I don't really limit myself with it anymore. But I was abused by a male figure in my family, and um, sometimes when I have triggers or things that make me angry or sad, sometimes if I ask myself, like, where is this emotion coming from? And it sometimes can be related to that trauma or another trauma that I experienced in my life. And so by knowing my own story, and not denying it, I'm able to connect more to the feelings that I have and then be able to bring some compassion in. And it's not something that, it's just one of those things that takes practice as well. Um, but knowing your story and not letting it limit your future. So that is number 7. Uh, this leads me to next one, which is number 8, creating healthy mindsets. So a lot of people when they think of like mental training, they think of meditation. And that is one way of getting into mindsets. Um, I think it's a good way to start out with because I mean there's many different ways of doing meditation and focuses or non-focuses of meditation. Um, but one thing is it's much easier to be able to notice thoughts as they arise when one is meditating. And some people describe this as like seeing clouds pass in the sky. So it's like noticing without like attaching to it as like the self, um, because sometimes my thoughts didn't come from me, um, and I don't identify my thoughts as me in particular. Sometimes there's thoughts I resonate with more than others. But if I notice that a thought isn't serving my highest good, I can either change that thought to something that does, or I can let go of it. Um, and this is another thing that's like a practice, right? And another example here is that like when I was young, there were mean boys in my neighborhood and in my school that would call me names. And I mean, I don't have to call myself those names just because somebody else, had that thought when they saw me. You know, and another thing that has helped me with mindsets, creating healthy mindsets, is affirmations. And this is something that I personally love. Affirmations are positive statements that help one affirm the path that one has chosen. And so this is helpful, especially if you're noticing negative thoughts coming up and redirecting those into more positive statements to connect to where you want to be going in life. And so, for example, if I was having a negative thought about my body or my abilities or something, I could say, I love myself. I love myself. Or I love my body. I love my body. And this was radically different from the mindset that I had growing up as a child. I had a lot of body shame and guilt from childhood, and it was radically different to be able to turn it around and to start loving myself. And it didn't happen quickly or easily. It took baby steps. And by giving myself more loving actions, gradually, I was able to start building that confidence and that love, that self-love. And if you're in a place where you're finding it difficult to say things like, I love myself or I love my body, one suggestion could be to try something like an affirmation like, my body is a vessel for my beautiful soul. And I like this because it's honoring the divine being that one is and all of it, body, mind, and spirit. So please type in the chat if you've ever had experience with affirmations before and what you think of them. I would love to know this. So moving on to our last tip for today's session. So this is number 9, having women in your support team. And I think this is really great. Um, a great way to feel supported, rather if you're starting a new eating habit or if you're starting a new fitness routine and you want to have like an accountability buddy, someone to help you, feel supported and motivated as you continue on. And it's really nice to have support, and especially other women in your life. Um, and if you are interested in doing like work around your traumas and your shadow. I have more information on that. And well, let me just explain what the shadow is if you've never heard of that term before. It's a psychological term, and this goes into it's like an idea that typically at childhood, when society or your parents or peers are telling you how you should be acting, what is right to say and what is wrong to say, um, it can create this kind of separation where the conscious part of the self has like repressed a part of the self, and so it creates this separation where one part is like unseen to the self, and um, if time goes on long enough, it can become like not just time, but if it keeps getting reinforced that like this is not, I can't be this way, it can create what they call a shadow. And I had a lot of this. I had a lot of shadow work, both from myself and from the male family member in my family that abused me. I believe they had a very dark shadow that they couldn't um, see. And that's probably with their addiction too, it probably didn't help. But, and that kind of attached onto me for a while, and I had to acknowledge it and see it. And before I could begin to let go of it. And I think that shadow work can be very freeing, to be aware of, the things that have been limiting one in the past, or creating, these. For me, it was a lot of self-sabotage and um, a lot of pain. So by being able to become aware of this and let go of it, acknowledge it, love myself, and let go of it. Just opening up for a lot more freedom, a lot more possibility, a lot more light to move forward. And it's really freeing. So if this is something that you're interested in working on, I would suggest to find people to talk to, trusted people in your life, or counselors, or therapists. And I've had a lot of therapists that I really loved that have helped me a lot, and they work in different kinds of varieties. Some people do sliding scale, and there's people that work with nonprofits that can help people with financial difficulties. So there's a lot of options out there. And I also offer a 12-week goddess course where we do a week of shadow work. So if this is something that you're interested in and you want support around, I'll give you more information about the Embody Your Goddess course. But one thing that I want to ask everyone out there is, how did this serve you today? Is there anything that you liked about today's topic? Any revelations that you'd like to share? Would love to hear from you. And I would also just love to share about the Embody Your Goddess course if you're interested. It is a 12-week online course to help women embody the goddess within, in body, mind, and spirit. And this is a transformational course. There are weekly belly dance classes, there are weekly yoga classes, meditation classes, weekly affirmations. And so if you are ready to take the next step to embody the goddess within, I hope you will fill out an application on my website, and that's trinitywavedesigns.com. And if you haven't already, and just to let you know, there are spaces still available, and there are even 5 scholarship spaces available if you're interested. So please check out my website, that's trinitywavedesigns.com. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I do put out content and lots of meditation, yoga, and other videos. So I would love to continue to connect with you here. And I would also like to do a little bit of a closing with you today. So if you can, find a nice comfortable seat so we can join together in this beautiful circle of women. Begin to close the eyes if you can, and begin to start taking deep breaths. Bringing the hands to the heart center in prayer. May we be healed in body, mind, and spirit. May our hearts be healed with light and love. May our minds be healed with light and love. May our bodies be healed with light and love. May our planet be healed with light and love. And I just want to bring some gratitude for all the women joining today and in the replay. And I just like to say thank you, and the divine light within me salutes and honors the divine light within you. Namaste. Have a great day. Bye.